This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 12th of March 2021, and I am 2J.
I'm Zoom.
And I am GK. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, Raila being treated for COVID-19, says doctor. In the Standard, Raila tests positive for COVID-19. And in the Star, Raila may have got COVID from a Mombasa family. So all three dailies taking the same angle. But I want to firstly wish President of Tanzania, a quick recovery from his COVID-19 vaccination. So today, all three headlines refer to Raila having been the latest victim of COVID-19. Here at the Fort Hall School of Government, we wish Baba Man a speedy recovery.
Indeed.
It has been a year since Kenya recorded its first case of COVID-19. And in the president's speech earlier today, he told fellow Kenyans that the fog of war continues. The enemy, COVID-19. And this is the second time he's used this military term, precisely because it is appropriate for the times Kenya is actually facing. A fog of war, he told us, is whereby the enemy is unseen, the theatres of war are unidentified, and its rules of engagement are erratic and unwritten. And the enemy, he told us, is also mutating. Kenya is facing an onslaught of COVID variants from around the world. The president gave context as to why containment measures were staying put and the so-called degrees of de-escalation and how much of the country should be opened up versus shut down. And he positioned himself and his government as a government that embraces science and data, which I particularly liked. And that this data was what was informing decision-making as Kenya deals with this third wave. The president issued the first coronavirus public order of 2021. And most notably, that again, public political gatherings, have been prohibited for 30 days. Emphasized on two things. One, that Kenya is entering a critical phase, but vaccines have been tested and endorsed as safe in this country. And so rollout of the vaccine is to happen according to the National Deployment Vaccination Plan. And two, he credited any success in fighting the virus to how Kenyans have continued to build on their civic duty, the culture of civic duty and responsibility, and that we are continuing to be our brother's keepers. And so I guess we can all clap for ourselves. That this is being entrenched was an achievement in fighting the pandemic. He outlined the economic cost of the lockdown, which I thought was really interesting, that we have paid the cost for bold decisions taken last year. And how, as a government, they really chose to save lives first. And so the Kenyan economy was projected to grow by 6.2 in 2020. It only grew by 0.6%, translating to a loss approximately of about 560 billion shillings of GDP. But the logic here is that the profit made as a nation was the prevention of the average of 2,000 deaths per day that could have been, and the 1 million infections that could have been had by Christmas of 2020. And so he told us, into context, all economies around the world shrunk, but Kenya's did not, despite major sacrifices. And this is what I liked. He said, though our nation was wounded, it remained unbowed. I thought it was quite poetic. And in dealing with the pandemic, this is what I really like. Uhuru said that an average plan executed with speed is superior to an excellent plan executed slowly. So I really liked
what a guy.
The way he seemed, his demeanor. He seemed very decisive and saying, I'm the man with the plan.
Absolutely. History will remember President Uhuru Kenyatta for how he's been responsible with Kenya. There are countries, guys, around us that have not. And if you can save over 2,000 lives a day, it doesn't matter even if you've gone into a recession. The fact remains you can revive an economy, but you cannot revive lives.
Exactly. So true.
Today I will be brief, guys. Yesterday we all woke up to news that the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine was causing blood clots in Denmark. Denmark, as a result, suspended its use. Soon after, Austria, Estonia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Latvia, many others suspended the use of AstraZeneca. The question we want to ask is this: if 5 million Europeans had received the vaccine so far, and 30 people develop blood clots, does that constitute an existential threat? Maybe, maybe not. But we also want to ask, why are blood clots just showing up in Europe? Morocco has rolled out 2 million AstraZeneca vaccines. which is nearly half of all Europe's total rollout, and no clot has been reported.
Yeah.
Nigeria has rolled out 4 million doses of AstraZeneca. Nobody reported a blood clot. Kenya has rolled out 100,000 vaccines. No one has reported a blood clot. Question is, why Europe? Are we in the middle of a big pharmaceutical war? Is it possible that Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna have ganged up on AstraZeneca? Look, we are not pro or against any big pharmaceutical. All we ask you is to be careful when you see blood clot headlines.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's always a biggest game, and poor Africans will always be part of the cast.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So you're thinking there's some games being played by Big Pharma?
Some monkey games. Look, South Africa just switched, they said yesterday, erase AstraZeneca, we will do Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
And I mean, no one in South Africa got a blood clot because of AstraZeneca. I'm not holding brief for them, but you can tell monkey games when you see it.
Yeah, and I think the important point you're making, 2M, is that this could lead to vaccine apathy, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Having a fear among the population that they don't want to take this
Of
vaccine,
what
which
could
I think,
happen.
taking figures like you've just highlighted, really put into perspective what's actually happening.
Yeah, and I think everyone should read Nassim Taleb's Skin in the Game.
Yes.
He talks about the information asymmetry that exists.
Precisely.
And especially what's going on with the medical sort of industry and how pharma plays games.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I refuse to read the headlines. I'm going to talk about my own things.
Great.
Of course, definitely wishing a very healthy and quick recovery to our Baba man.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yesterday, I spoke about the nature of constitutions and why Kenyans need not fear changing them. I showed that from the lessons of the West and Latin America, they teach us that as the strength of democracies increase, the need for constitutional change decreases. Stability means that fewer changes need to happen.
Yeah.
And so I use these examples to let Kenyans know that constitutional change is necessary, especially as a country is growing. And BBI is here to correct the wrongs that are stopping this country from moving forward.
Correct.
But as the BBI bill sits in Parliament, the country must wake up to the fact that we have a problem, but we also have a solution. The problem is succession politics and what the politics of stupid does to our great nation.
Yes.
We are an ethnic country.
Yes.
Fact.
Yes.
And this presents us with the poison of ethnic politics year after year. It presents us with the politics of exclusion.
Yes.
Remember, as we approach a succession election, history has taught us that whenever a Kalenjin wants to inherit a Kikuyu, constitutional change is proposed.
Yes.
In 1977, Mzee Moi was about to inherit Jomo Kenyatta when the Change the Constitution movement started. 40 years later, the son of Jomo is to be inherited by a Kalenjin, maybe, and a constitutional change moment has begun.
Yeah.
What are we missing? If every election cycle we fight, steal, and kill, at some point we have to question the authority of a little piece of paper that we call the Constitution. The problem of fitting the needs of many into one seat that we call the presidency is taking the toll on this country. This is the politics of stupidity.
Yes.
But this is also where the solution comes in. We have said before, the legacy of Uhuru Kenyatta will be that of the monk who sold his Ferrari.
Yes.
After the handshake,
Yeah.
Uhuru decided to sell the Ferrari in favor of a Matatu presidency.
Correct.
This is how Raila, Kalonzo, Wetangula, and even RUTO get a seat at the table.
Yeah.
However, RUTO has refused to get out of the Ferrari. He wants to spin this Ferrari presidency on his own in 2022. In our view, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I will just end with the words of President Uhuru Kenyatta that he made at a prayer breakfast, I believe in 2018.
Okay.
He said, "If our forefathers thought about themselves, today we would still have a Governor General residing in State House.
Yes.
If they had thought, I don't want to risk my life, we would still be a colony today.
Yes.
But they risked their lives. They sacrificed so that 50-something years down the road, we could be here. And we are here today. And we should ask, what legacy will we have left?"
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
The politics of stupidity.
Yes, indeed.
I love
do like
it.
that.
I love it.
So listen, we had 3 headlines, but I think we should toss them all
Yeah.
on account of...
I mean, you cannot have
Why
a
did
winning
anybody
headline.
have a headline that says, get well soon?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Get
Yeah.
well soon, Baba.
Yeah.
Get
Perpetuating
well soon,
negativity.
Magufuli.
and uncertainty.
Yeah.
And now our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled Self-Made, inspired by the life of Madam C.J. Walker.
Oh, before we get into that, can I give a summary?
Proceed.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, but also to hit like. So on Tuesday, this week we've been looking at international women's sort of history, looking at women who've contributed to the world. On Tuesday, we looked at Queen Victoria using the book Victoria the Queen, an intimate biography of the woman who ruled an empire by Julia Bayard. The author of the book tries to present Queen Victoria in a different light from the dumpy little woman in perpetual mourning that history remembers her being. The book looks at Victoria in 3 different lights: Victoria the woman, Victoria the politician, and Victoria the monarch. And we saw how she ruled the vast British Empire using skill and ruthless ambition. Yeah. On Wednesday, our final thought was inspired by the book Murder of a Medici Princess by Caroline P. Murphy, and we looked at the brilliant life and tragic death of the daughter to Duke Cosimo I, Isabella de Medici, who was assassinated by her husband with the support of her brother. The story of Isabella de Medici far from resembles the fairy tale stories that many have grown up with. Her story shows how a brilliant woman would be killed for failing to abide by the norms of the time. And on Thursday, our final thought was inspired by 2 books, a bonus: The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot, and Hidden Figures, the untold story of the African-American women who helped win the space race by Margot Lee Shetterly. And the purpose of looking at these 2 books is to look at Black women who have contributed to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in a massive way. We looked at how history had, for the most part, ignored the incredible contributions that women of color have made to the sciences. And today we look at the lady of hair.
Oh, absolutely.
Madam C.J. Walker.
Yeah.
Yes, who was actually recorded as the first self-made female millionaire in America, according to the Guinness World Book of Records.
Nice.
Yes.
So not first white female, black female, just female, end of story.
Yes.
And so she was actually born, most people don't know this, she was born as Sarah Breedlove in 1867 on a plantation in the Mississippi Delta, where her parents had been slaves and they were recently freed. And she was the first child of 5, I believe, that was born to free parents. But she was later orphaned at the young age of 7.
Yeah.
So she got married at a young age as well to escape her oppressive life at the hands of family members. But during the 1890s, she started to lose her hair. And a lot of this was due to stress around money, marriage, and life. So her great-granddaughter, Aaliyah Bundles, who actually wrote this book, explains that during the early 1900s, when most Americans lacked indoor plumbing and electricity, bathing was a luxury.
Yeah.
And as a result, Sarah, as she was known then, and many other women were going bald because they washed their hair so infrequently, leaving it vulnerable to environmental hazards such as pollution, bacteria, and lice. So remember to wash your hair. But around 1904, Sarah's personal and professional fortune began to turn when she discovered the great, wonderful hair grower of a woman by the name of Annie Turnbull.
Yes.
And this was a woman who had a background in chemistry, and she owned a hair straightening business. And so within a year, Sarah went from using these products to actually selling them as a local agent.
Right.
So just a little bit of context. Black people at this time in America were excluded from most trade unions and denied bank capital, resulting in trapped lives as sharecroppers or menial low-wage earners.
Yes.
One of the only ways out was to start a business in a market that was allowed by the repressive Jim Crow laws.
Correct.
Yes. So hair care and cosmetics ended up fitting the bill, and the startup costs were very low.
Yeah.
So unlike today's big multinationals and these white businesses, they were very slow to respond to Black specific needs.
Yes.
So while still a Turnbow agent, Sarah stepped out of her boss's shadow in 1905 and she relocated.
Yes.
And around the same time, she says that she has this dream. In her own words, a big Black man appeared to me and told me to mix up for my hair.
Yeah.
Some of the remedy was grown in Africa, but I sent for it, put it on my scalp, and in a few weeks, my hair was coming in faster than it had ever fallen out.
Yes.
And this, concoction that she put together was to be called Madam Walker's Wonderful Hair Grower.
I love it.
Her initial investment was $1.25.
Wow.
Yes.
So her industry, of course, had all these critics.
Yeah.
And among one of them was the leading black institution builder of the day, Booker T. Washington,
Yes.
who worried that the hair straightener and worse, skin bleaching, would lead to the internalization of white concepts of beauty. And I think it makes sense because we're having this resurgence of natural hair now, right?
Yeah.
But of course, the reason we're still talking about this woman today is because of her foresight and her success that happened only in the span of 12 years. In pumping her wonderful hair grower door to door at churches, club gatherings, Walker proved to be a marketing magician, and she sold her customers more than just hair products. She really offered them a lifestyle. And I think that's what we really remember about this woman.
I like that.
Apart from her being a millionaire, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, from a washer woman living from boarding house to boarding house to a multimillionaire, CJ Walker's story is superb. A story is told about Sarah. She found herself going bald. It's your story too, Jay. Then around the time, most rural women and poor urban women knew nothing about hygiene. So they would wash their clothes and scrub their tenement floors, but they might wash their hair once a month. She prayed to the Lord for guidance. She said, and one night in a dream, just as you said, a big black man appeared to me and told me what to mix for my hair. Some of the remedy was from Africa, but I sent for it, mixed it up, and I mixed it up on my scalp, and in a few weeks, my hair was coming faster than it had fallen out. Now, after trying it out on her daughter,
She tried it on her daughter first.
On her daughter, can you imagine? And the neighbor, she decided to sell the formula. She says it was inspiration from God, a gift to be placed in the reach of those who appreciated beautiful hair and healthy scalps, which is the glory of a woman. Now, in 1906, she headed for Denver, armed with these Puro products and her third husband called CJ Walker, helped by her daughter, who preferred to party, but did the best to please her mother. Walker took her wonderful hair grower across the country, selling it, setting up shops, and training women in her healthcare methods. By 1907, the washerwoman, who had earned $300 a year, was earning $300 a month. In an era when most black women made only about $8 to $20 per month as domestic servants, and white male factory workers had monthly incomes of about $40 to $60. Walker's business was averaging upward of $300 a month, a more respectable sum by any measure.
Wow.
Now, when she died of kidney disease, her net worth was $600,000. Made her a millionaire in myth, not fact. But that sum, the equivalent of about $6 to $7 million today, did make her one of the richest businesswomen in America.
Yeah, truly inspiring. And there's a film actually on Netflix. It's called Self-Made with Octavia Spencer that everybody should watch. What I liked in my little dig around her life was that when she made it, she built a really big villa called Villa Lewaro. And you can actually go and see it. It's designated a National Historic Landmark in 1976 for its architectural significance. Now, what was interesting is Villa Lewaro became this intellectual gathering place for black people. Characters such as W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, all would gather there and, think about important things. But there are many lessons I think we can all learn from Madam C.J. Walker's life. I'll give some. One, you have strength that you just don't even realize. One of Walker's best known quotes is, "I got my start by giving myself a start." So born, of this family, first generation free from slavery, and then she gets married and has to leave, or she's widowed actually, and has to move with her young daughter to try and find the best living for herself. So at the age of 20, she moved to Missouri, where she worked for less than $2 a day just to get her daughter some education. But she realized that she had to move. There were no opportunities opportunities for her where she was.
Yeah.
Solving a problem for yourself can fix something for others. So like you two have said, you know, she had her own issue with her hair and she had to fix that problem, and in doing so she fixed it for others.
Correct.
And you know what? She tapped into a huge, very undeveloped market, like you said, 2J. And black hair care is still a big thing today. I think people are still recreating Madam CJ Walker's brands and that ethos of cleanliness and for your scalp.
Absolutely.
Third thing, collaborate with people who believe in your vision. So Madam CJ Walker had what she called Walker agents, and these were beauticians and sales agents who were hired. I think at the peak they were 25,000 sales agents. Who all went through her beauty school, which was called the Lilia College of Beauty Culture. And they all would go around when they do their sales door to door, preaching the philosophy of cleanliness and loveliness, which I think is really advancing the status of African American women at that time.
Yeah.
In a very simple way. The last one of the is invest in yourself.
Yeah.
CJ Walker couldn't get funding for her factory. And so she worked really hard and eventually invested $10,000 out of her own pocket, making her the lone shareholder of her own operation. So invest in yourself. And lastly, support your community. She was big in philanthropy. At a time when jobs for black women were fairly limited, she was offering them to female talent.
Yeah.
And she even said that in her company's charter, that only a woman could serve as the president of her company.
Yeah.
She donated generously to universities, black charities as well. She spent $10,000 every year for the education of a young Negro men and women in southern colleges such as Tuskegee. And lastly, I just want to ask you guys, not everyone will become a millionaire, but I should ask, what good can you do with the little that you do have, yeah? And I'll end with this. Walker once explained, I had to make my own living and my own opportunity, but I made it. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come.
Right.
Get up
Absolutely.
and make them.
Fantastic.
So have a lovely weekend. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, but also find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Prime Free to Air, and StarTimes.
Yes.